You were told that your bank account was a private vault designed to protect your hard-earned labor. But in 2026, the walls of that vault have become completely transparent. While you were busy navigating the daily grind, the Internal Revenue Service was quietly handed the keys to a digital panopticon fueled by $80 billion in funding, and a new army of 80,000 agents who are no longer just accountants but digital hunters. They have activated the most sophisticated artificial intelligence algorithm in human history, specifically designed to scan every single transaction over $600 that moves through your Venmo, PayPal, or bank account in real time. The math of privacy is fundamentally broken because the system no longer views you as a citizen with rights, but as a data point that must be harvested to fund a national debt that is currently spinning out of control at $34 trillion. Welcome to the IRS blueprint, where your financial independence is being systematically dismantled under the guise of catch the rich, while the middle class is the one being placed in a digital cage. The $600 reporting rule is the primary psychological leash used to ensure that the informal economy and the side hustle are completely brought under the thumb of the technocratic elite. In your father's generation, a cash payment for a job well done was a private matter between two individuals. But in 2026, the system has engineered a world where every dollar you move leaves a permanent digital footprint that is analyzed by a neural network looking for any sign of non-compliance. They want you focused on the convenience of the digital dollar because they know that once you stop using physical cash, you have lost the ability to trade without the state's permission. You are trading your absolute sovereignty for a handful of reward points and a mobile app that reports your every move to a central server in Washington. This is not about stopping tax evasion. It is about the total liquidation of the individual's right to exist outside of the institutional eye. Think about the psychological heist of the AI audit, because this is where the elite use machine learning to predict your income before you even earn it. The IRS is no longer waiting for you to file a return. They are already building a shadow profile of your spending habits, your travel patterns, and your social connections to determine exactly how much they can squeeze from your future labor. They are targeting the entrepreneurs and the self-employed because these are the people who still have a spark of independence that the system needs to extinguish. The top 1% use complex private trusts and offshore foundations to remain invisible while you are forced to justify a $1,000 transfer to a family member. The math is broken because the tax code was written by the owners of the matrix to ensure that the people who provide the value stay exactly where they are on the treadmill of debt and surveillance. The integration of your bank account with the new social credit infrastructure is the final stage of the IRS blueprint, where your compliance is now tied to your ability to participate in the economy. In 2026, the digital dollar is being programmed to interact with the surveillance state, ensuring that if you are flagged for an unauthorized transaction, your access to capital can be restricted or frozen in a single billing cycle. You think you are saving money, but in reality you are just hoarding digital permissions that can be revoked by a centralized authority that views your savings as a systemic liability. The elite are moving their wealth into dark assets like physical silver and private land, while they encourage you to keep your life's work in a transparent digital cloud that they control completely. It is time to stop being a voluntary participant in your own financial execution and start building a blueprint for privacy that the algorithm cannot penetrate. The war on cash is the foundation of this digital prison because cash is the only tool that allows the middle class to bypass the gatekeepers of the global banking system. By systematically removing physical currency from circulation, the architects of the matrix are ensuring that you are a captive customer of the multi-billion-dollar financial institutions that harvest a percentage of every transaction you make. Every time you tap your card or scan a QR code, you are paying a hidden tax of data and fees to the technocrats who own the servers, while the value of your labor is being shredded by the silent heist of inflation. The dollar is no longer money, it is a debt contract that is being devalued every second to fund a war economy that requires your constant productivity to survive. True freedom is the ability to trade in silence, and the system is working day and night to ensure that silence is a luxury you can no longer afford. They want you to believe that financial transparency is for the greater good, while they build fortresses of secrecy for their own wealth through legal fictions and shell companies that remain untouched by the agents they send to your door. You are witnessing the industrialization of theft, where the middle class is being mined like a natural resource to fund a state that has zero loyalty to their future and zero respect for their autonomy. In 2026, the IRS blueprint is the final reset of the old social contract, where your labor is owned by the collective and your prosperity is managed by a script. The math is brutal and the stakes are your entire existence, because once the digital gates close, there is no way to exit without their permission. It is time to wake up and see the wires before they become the permanent boundary of your life's work. Your Venmo and PayPal accounts have become the primary entry points for the digital spy network because these platforms were designed to normalize the tracking of small peer-to-peer transactions. You think you are just paying back a friend for dinner, but you are actually providing the system with a detailed map of your social network and your spending velocity. The IRS has embedded its algorithms directly into these payment processors, ensuring that any sign of business activity results in an immediate tax liability that most people are unprepared to handle. They have turned your social life into a taxable event, making it impossible to escape the funnel of wealth extraction even in your private moments. My name is John and I'm only 18, but I can see that the future they are building for us is one where every human interaction is a line item on a government balance sheet. Fractional reserve banking and the digital dollar are the twin pillars of this modern feudalism, where the lords are the central bankers and the serfs are the people who trade their hours for paper. That is losing value. This system creates a massive wealth gap, where the people who own the assets get richer through asset inflation while the people who work for a paycheck are systematically liquidated. If you are still following the old advice of work hard and pay your taxes, you are essentially volunteering to be fleeced by a machine that views your effort as a renewable resource to be exploited. The math is broken because the incentives are designed to punish the hard worker and reward the technocrat, ensuring that the path to independence is blocked by a series of digital toll booths that never close. It is time to stop serving the machine and start building your own wall of protection through hard assets and private trade. The psychological toll of living under total financial surveillance is a silent epidemic that leads to a loss of creativity and a rise in self-censorship among the most productive members of society. When you know that every purchase is being judged by an algorithm, you begin to modify your behavior to fit the safe profile of a compliant citizen, and you eventually stop thinking for yourself. The system wants you in this state of permanent anxiety because a fearful population is easy to manage and easy to distract from the truth. They want you focused on the headlines and the scandals so that you never stop to audit the math of your own exploitation. Sovereignty begins with the realization that the matrix only has power over you, as long as you believe in the value of their digital paper and the safety of their outdated structures.
Technological unemployment and the rise of artificial intelligence mean that the state will eventually offer you a universal basic income delivered through their digital prison as a way to keep you from rebelling as your skills become obsolete. This UBI will come with strings attached, requiring you to follow the rules of the system and accept their narrative in exchange for your monthly digital allowance. It is the ultimate tool of social engineering where the government becomes your only employer and your only provider, turning you into a high-tech dependent who has zero leverage. The window to build real tangible wealth is closing fast, and if you do not adapt by owning the means of production or physical assets today, you will be left at the mercy of an algorithm that has zero compassion for your humanity. My name is John, and I refuse to be a digital sharecropper in a world that was rigged before I was born.
The tax code in 2026 has been weaponized into a masterpiece of social engineering designed to protect the wealth of the elite, while placing the entire burden of running the state on your shoulders. While billionaires use offshore accounts and complex trusts to pay near zero, the average worker sees 30% of their paycheck disappear before it even hits their bank account. This is a system where you are taxed when you earn, and taxed when you spend, and taxed when you own, and even taxed when you die. It is a relentless extraction of your labor that ensures you can never accumulate enough capital to truly compete with the people who write the laws. The game is rigged in favor of those who own the capital, while the people who trade their time for money are left to pick up the bill for everything. The dollar is not just a currency, it is a global weapon used by the financial architects to maintain their hegemony and control the flow of resources across the entire planet. By forcing the world to trade in digital credits, the elite are able to export their failures to other countries and live beyond their means for decades. However, this system is starting to show deep cracks as nations begin to realize that the digital dollar is a liability rather than an asset. As the rest of the world moves away from the system, the value will collapse back into the domestic economy, causing a reset that will wipe out the unprepared. You must understand that the currency is a political tool, and when the politics change, the money will disappear into thin air, leaving only the people with hard assets standing. The opportunity cost of the taxes and fees you pay throughout your life is the true price of your submission, because it represents the decades of freedom you could have purchased for yourself. If you took the 40% of your income that goes to the institutional MA and invested it into productive hard assets for 30 years, you would be looking at millions of dollars of net worth that would belong entirely to you. Instead, that wealth is used to fund endless debt and massive bailouts for the very banks that are currently devaluing your wages. You are trading the best years of your life to fund the expansion of a system that is actively working to diminish your individual power. It is time to stop viewing taxation as an inevitability and start seeing it as a direct extraction of your sovereignty. The shift to a cashless society is the final trapdoor of the IRS blueprint because it ensures that every single transaction you make is recorded and harvested in real time. In a world of digital ledgers, there will be no more private trade and no more financial privacy for the individual citizen. The system will have a front row seat to your every move, ensuring that any attempt to protect your wealth results in an immediate restriction of your purchasing power. The elite are building private decentralized networks for their own capital while they push the masses into a digital panopticon where every dollar you earn is instantly split with the state. True freedom is the ability to trade without permission, and the Matrix is working day and night to ensure that permission is the only thing you have left. My name is John, and I have spent my life deconstructing these blueprints because I want to see a world where individuals are more powerful than institutions. The IRS blueprint is one of the most effective cages ever built because the bars are invisible until you try to move, and the justification is a social contract that only applies to you. It is time to wake up and stop serving the interests of the banks and the corporations through your high-interest labor and your digital compliance. The math is broken, but your future can be reclaimed the moment you decide to stop playing their game and start building a life that is actually based on the truth. Subscribe to this channel and join me as we continue to tear down the illusions of the modern economy and build a blueprint for a future that you actually own. We are living through the final stages of a giant financial experiment that is reaching its inevitable conclusion, and the only question is whether you will be a victim or a survivor. The system wants you to stay distracted by the latest news and the latest trends so that you do not notice the walls closing in on your financial future. It is time to wake up and see the world for what it really is and take the first step toward reclaiming your sovereignty and your wealth. This is not just about money, but it is about your freedom and the future of your family in a world that is becoming increasingly hostile to the individual. Let us get to work on your exit strategy because the window is closing and the system will not warn you when the trap finally snaps shut forever. Building real sovereignty in 2026 means moving your wealth out of the digital matrix and into assets that the government cannot easily track or tax into oblivion. Physical gold, fertile land, and private businesses are the remaining lifeboats in a sinking fiat currency ocean that is being swallowed by the technocratic elite. You must prioritize the ownership of your own time and the development of skills that provide tangible value regardless of what the legislature decides to do next. It is better to have a smaller life that you control completely than a large life that is owned by the IRS and the banks. My name is John, and the heist ends the moment you decide to wake up and start owning your future instead of renting your existence from the state. The final reset of the global economy will be delivered through the digital dollar, where old debts are wiped away and replaced with a new system of total control and zero privacy. The elite understand that the current model is unsustainable, which is why they are building the lifeboats of the CBDC matrix to transition their power into the next era. You are being asked to trade your last remaining bits of freedom for the promise of stability in an unstable world. But the stability they offer is the stability of a prison cell. It is time to stop believing the propaganda of the central banks and start building your own blueprint for sovereignty based on the reality of hard assets and private trade. Welcome to the side of truth. You must stop believing that hard work alone will make you rich and start understanding that wealth is the result of owning the means of production and the assets that other people need to survive. This means living well below your means and ignoring the status games of your neighbors so that you can funnel every spare dollar into things that pay you while you sleep. It means becoming a sovereign individual who does not rely on a single corporate paycheck or a government permission for their survival. The system will tell you that this is risky, but the real risk is spending 40 years of your life working for a net profit of $4 an hour while the world passes you by. Let us get to work on your actual freedom today. My name is John, and I have dedicated my life to exposing the blueprints of the elite so that you can finally see the chains that are hidden in plain sight. The IRS blueprint is the final stage of the financial matrix designed to ensure your complete compliance in the upcoming war economy. It is time to take back your time and your energy by refusing to fund the lifestyles of the elite through your high-interest labor and your digital tracking. Subscribe to this channel and let us finish deconstructing the lie together so that you can finally take back control of your life and your wealth. The math is broken, but your future doesn't have to be if you start playing a different game today. Let's get to work.